Hey everyone, welcome back to our real estate and construction channel down here in the state of Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful guest for the second time from beautiful Tempe, Arizona. We have Matt Beans. How's it going, Matt?
Man, it is going good. It's going good. With the weather here in Tempe starting to cool down, I hope it's starting to cool down in Houston as well because it's been freaking hot here.
Yeah, Arizona has a different type of hot. I mean, I know people here in Texas can complain about the humidity, but Arizona heat, it kind of sneaks up on you, you know?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys that, work in construction to some degree, whether it's like actually doing remodels or building houses, commercial inspections. And I'm like, hey, you want to work out? It's like 2 p.m. They're like, no, bro, I just got home and I am wiped. Like I'm drinking a margarita and going to bed. It's like, all right, cool.
That's funny. It sounds about right. I do love the I don't know. What I like about Arizona at night, I just kind of like, I mean, you can go outside with like a light jacket on. It's a little crisp and nice and cool in the desert, you know?
Yeah, not it's that weather is coming. Lately, it's been like you go outside, it's still 105 degrees outside. You're like, dude, can we chill out here? And there's no lakes, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just desert. You guys have lakes, which is beautiful, lakes, trees, but that brings a humidity. So it's, pick your poison.
Yeah, it cuts both ways. I mean, you kind of know the deal here in Texas. You've been down here a few times. I think you were here earlier this year or late last year, I think.
Yeah, me and my buddy, we flew into Houston and then we rushed over to Beaumont and we're looking at some lots. Actually, there's a lot in Beaumont. I bought it sight unseen, flipped that to, I actually closed on it, bought it, and then sold it to an end buyer on the retail market and it was a small deal, a couple $1,000, but it was kind of cool. Just drive. I was like, we're driving through anyways. Might as well go check that property out and see what it's
Yeah.
all about. So that's cool.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love the attitude, obviously the entrepreneurial spirit. And Matt, we've obviously spoken before. I want to bring you back on the show because I can tell a lot of big things, have happened, for you and a lot more to come. And, so for those of us who aren't familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. So my name is Matt Beans. I come from Kingman, Arizona. A couple years ago, came down to Phoenix, Arizona, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Losing track of time now. Too many things going on. Me and my girlfriend, who's also my business partner in our bookkeeping business, we went on an RV trip for 4 or 5 months and had a wonderful idea to open an electric skateboard shop on basically what would be like the downtown main strip here in Tempe. It was called Shred Club. I'm sure you can still look it up on Google, Shred Club Tempe. And that business actually went bust. Like it was a really fun, exciting. We got a good group of people. The aesthetics were killer. I still have some of the sweatshirts that I wear when I work out. Incredible time, super fun, but also learned a lot of like business lessons out of that. And through all of that, also doing land deals, land development, subdivisions, rezones, looking at doing some mobile homes on some lots right now. And then, our insight in the real estate world across the nation, just from our bookkeeping and accounting business that focuses on real estate investors. So yeah, that's my intro. The reason why I'm on this podcast and love doing things like this, and if you follow me on social media, the Matt Beans, I talk a little bit about business and mindset and finances, but ultimately I just think that the generation before us, the older people, they're like, oh, your next generation is lazy and all this stuff. And I'm kind of like, guys, let's work. Like, let's show that we don't have anything to prove, but let's prove that we have something to prove, right? Like, let's get to work. Let's be educated. Let's put the work in. Let's be physically fit. Let's provide for people. Let's take over, right? Like, we're the next generation in this country. So we need to act like that.
Yeah, and I can definitely piggyback off that as well. It's almost kind of the quote unquote cool thing, to kind of be self-deprecating or for the, about your generation or for the older generation to kind of pick on us. But, some of the hardest workers and most, ambitious people I know are around our age.
Yeah. I think our age is unique, right? Like I'm 20 in my late 20s, 27 right now. I just turned 27 last month. And it's a weird time because it's like, you kind of get used to the $100,000-$200,000 price range because that's like what you worked for your whole life. That's the dream. Now it's like I'm like pissed off with it, dude. I'm like, I want to push. Like I want to 10x that, right? Grant Cardone. Like I feel like it's a prison. It's like this point where it's like, oh, it's comfortable and you can live and have nice things, but it's also like I want more, like not just for me, but like my community, my friends, my family, like causes, the pain in the world. Like I want to contribute more. And yeah, it's a weird thing right now in our age group because it's like we're just pushing for more and people are like, oh, you're good, you're making this much money or you got this business or whatever the case is. It's like, nah, dude, like more, like we need to keep pushing. We're only 27, right? We're still kids. Like we still got another 40 years left of this stuff. Like we can't just stay idle right here.
Yeah. And, it's such an interesting question as well. I know this sounds cliche, but it also kind of reminds you of, maybe that guy who starts in the business, he's young, he climbs the ladder, he gets there, maybe he's in his late 40s, early 50s or whatever it is. He's gotten the accolades, he's gotten all the money, and he's shackled by the quote unquote golden handcuffs. Things are almost too cushy, right? Everything's predictable. He has enough money, he's taken care of, but yet there's still something more.
Yeah. What for you, what's that more for you?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, it's I don't know, maybe it's not, again, maybe it sounds a bit cliche, but just, filling your cup to fill someone else's, right? So obviously providing for yourself and those around you, but doing that with the intention of also, building the people around you too, and having other people to ride along on the journey with you.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of funny because we've never like actually met in person, but we've had a couple conversations. I'm like, dude, Aaron's like one of those dudes I'm going to know, like Aaron's going to know me in 10, 15, 20 years, right? It's like, we're just going to grow together, God willing. But yeah, it's kind of a cool, we're also in a cool age where we get that, right? We get the Zooms, we get the podcast and the social media, and like, we can kind of stay connected with each other because of technology. And yeah, for me, it's like just being more, and I use the word discipline, but I use it loosely. It's just being, and I also use the word aggressive, but in a hopefully non-hostile way, where it's like last couple of weeks, I'm like literally, I'm sure you can feel this just tension in me that I'm like, dude, I want to push and go. It's like, dude, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, right? Like I'm going to the gym for 2 hours because I want to gain more muscle. I've always been like a small, skinny, scrawny kid. And from the age of 18, I've gained about 20 pounds, essentially all muscle. And but it's like, it's not quick enough. Right. And it's like pushing, and it's just always pushing what is physically capable. And a lot of my friends are like, dude, you're crazy. This is completely unsustainable. I'm like, well, we'll see. I'm either going to hit my goals or die. Like there's like, those are the only two options right now.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of sad to see people doing that as well, right? To see you kind of, wanting to better yourself and striving, and it's easy to take a jab at somebody or kind of poke at them, that way. But I don't know, like you said, you're always wanting more, and it's I don't know, it's a bit strange kind of hearing people, say, hey, well, why are you wanting to make more money? Why are you wanting to get in better shape? Why are you wanting to do X, Y, and Z? When you have your own ambitions, right?
Yeah, something I don't know, this is how I interpret it when people, it's close to me, when it's people that are like, you have layers of friendships. When it's people close to me, most of them are pretty successful, and I take it like they know that's going to motivate me, so that's why they say it, right? It's like, I don't know if that's actually what they're doing. I don't know if they're that strategic about it. But every time one of them's like, no, this is unsustainable. Like, you're not going to do this. You're not going to make that. You're not, it's like, watch, like, hold my beer, watch this, right? Like, let's freaking go.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but also reminds me about Herschel Walker. He was a great tailback for the Georgia Bulldogs. I think he may have won the Heisman Trophy. I'm not sure, but he was a great football player. And he did all these other things after his football career. I guess he's an older man now, and he went to fight, I guess, do professional fights, like kind of UFC style fights, I want to say. And he claims that he was on this real small diet where he would just eat one meal a day, and the guy is just absolutely shredded, and it makes you think this is too good to be true. Like, how is that possible, you know?
Yeah, he's probably leaning into some intermittent fasting, high protein, cutting weight, right? It's like it's cycles though for fighting. That's a different sport. I mean, everything from the nutrition to the mentality to technique. That's the cycles that you go through, like 12-week training camps. That's insane. That's a noble sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm curious. I know we talked a bit about it on our previous show, but also kind of that mind body connection. I've follow a few guys on Instagram. I can think of Bedros Keuilian, someone like that, where he was a fat guy before, and he had this big, he had all these kind of issues in his head, and all of a sudden he gets in shape over time with that discipline, and his life and his wallet, his bank account completely changed.
Yeah, something that I really, really believe is that health and fitness is kind of the gateway to discipline in all areas of life, right? You can, in your business, you can delegate everything, right? You could delegate a host for this podcast. You could delegate sales calls to salespeople. You can delegate almost everything in business, right? You can delegate almost everything in your household, cleaning dishes, sweeping, mopping, moving furniture. You can delegate moving physical locations, right? But the one thing you cannot delegate is waking up early and working out, or staying up late and working out, right? It's like nobody's going to put your body under stress for you ever. It is physically not possible. So until you're able, like, and you can make a, like, if we're talking money or whatever the case is, like, you can do a lot of great things completely undisciplined, right? You can wake up, go work all day, smoke weed at night, eat pizza, go to bed, wake up, like that. You can just run that, right? Play video games. Like, that's a sustainable thing. Like, I've seen people do it, but I don't know what the fulfillment is in that. Like, that just, it doesn't seem, it's like when you hear that, you're like there, it's not impressive, right? And it's like there's something I think that there's, like, you want to be impressive, right? You want to make good first impressions. You want to be a leader. You want to have integrity, have disciplines, like be the warrior in the garden, and like Jordan Peterson talks about this. You want to be a dangerous man, right? Like, you want to be a threat, because being a soft man, you're the most threatening person, right? You have no discipline. You're a loose cannon. You're temperamental. You're not able to defend yourself or anybody else. You're not able to work hard. That is the most actually dangerous person. But when you're a trained, disciplined, dangerous man, like Jordan Peterson talks about, it's like, that's what we need right now, right? Like, we need leaders that are willing to stand up. We need people that can inspire and aspire and do all of these things that the generation before us, like, they're leaving, right? Like that. Who's the Gran Torino? Who's the main actor in that?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. Like, bro, all the Clint Eastwoods of the world are like leaving,
Yeah,
right? It's like our turn to be the Clint Eastwood.
that's right. That's right. No, and I'm so glad that that's where your head's at, because a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people don't aspire to that, right? It's I know I've definitely gotten caught in ruts over the years where you're worn down from work. God knows what's going on in your life. You get home, you want to shut out the world. You don't want to talk to anyone, and you kind of want to stay in your own thing. But there's other people out there to connect with, and there's a lot more to strive for and to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say for anybody that like if you're looking at, if you're upset, depressed, anxious, whatever low frequency feelings you have, like, cause I feel them too, right? It's like part of why I'm like on this getting after it right now is because I'm tired of all that, dude. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for that. Like, I've lived in that for months. Like, I'm over it. Like, let's flip the script. But it's like literally taking your physical fitness. I'm a huge proponent of it. Like, get disciplined on your eating and get disciplined in the gym, right? Go in and do the freaking work, because it's like, have you ever heard, I don't know if you've familiar with it, but like a marathon runner or like I do mud runs. It's like I don't feel any anxiety when I run. None. It's like, yeah, this sucks, or like, damn, how much further do I have to go? But it's not like the worries of the world are gone. It's like I need to run. Like if I don't finish this race, I'm gonna look like a loser. Right? It's
Yeah,
like when you're in the gym and you're deadlifting heavy weight, like you're not thinking about anything that's going on in the world. You're like, bro, this is a heavy freaking bar. Like, how many reps do I have to do? Okay, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's like, damn, I need to take a breath now. Like, where's the water at?
yeah.
Right? It's like it takes away all that anxiety. It takes away all of that negative feelings and emotions. And then when we get out of the gym, we have the confidence like, dude, I just did a really hard workout and I'm a better person now than I was before I walked in the gym because I did what I said I was going to do. And it builds integrity with ourselves, confidence, and that just flows into every other aspect of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it almost kind of reminds me of almost well, I'm no expert by any means. I'm a mere white belt right now, but I've done a little bit of jujitsu, and
There we go.
it's very humbling having a grown man who's 80 pounds heavier than you, trying to choke you out, and you're not thinking about replying to emails or what Mrs. Jones told you over the phone that day, right? You don't think about anything else but how do I get away from this guy who's wanting to choke me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's like, damn, like if one
Yeah,
dude can choke me, like, can I really defend myself? Like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot to be said for physical pursuits and kind of being your best in that realm, and obviously that translating to business. And I'm curious as well, when I think of Arizona, I think of obviously the desert, the beauty, and I think of a lot of accessible land, right? So I know that your background has been, obviously you talked about Shred Club, you talked a bit about maybe other endeavors you've had, but what got you interested in land? Like why that facet of the business for you?
All right, I'm going to do two things. Yeah, you mentioned the amount of land in Arizona and then my pursuit in the land business. I'm going to start with my pursuit in the land business and then circle back to available land in Arizona. So my pursuit in the land business came from, I was actually in the wholesale world with real estate, right? Get a property under contract, assign it to an end buyer, they flip the house. Long story short, I was working at an investment firm who, if I said their name, you'd recognize it. I'm not trying to build my credibility on somebody else's name. I'm not trying to ride coattails, but basically I was doing the acquisition and the disposition. And I was like, dude, all I got to do is run marketing and I've got my own operation. Left, started doing wholesale on my own. And then actually I was like, screw this. I'm just going to flip houses. So what I did, and I want to provide some real value to your listeners, maybe there's a 20-year-old Matt Beans listening to this, or Susie Ann, or whoever it is that can take this tactical advice. I didn't have them. I had like 10 grand in my name, right? Like I was doing wholesale. I was doing a terrible job at it, but I had like 10 grand and I was like, I don't have money to do a flip. Like down payment, you buy something for my first acquisition was 145K. Buy something for 145K, I've got to put 10% down on hard money. That's 14,500. Boom. Already don't have enough money. Then I have to put 40 grand into this stinking house to flip it. We're up to 50, 60,000, plus have to pay interest, plus this, plus that. So what I did is in 1 week, I went and applied for 17 credit cards, got approved for $60,000 at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months, called every single bank and said, hey, I just got approved for this credit card. I have creditors that I need to pay, but I cannot pay with a card. Like they don't accept card. I have to either write a check or I have to pay in cash. Can you do a full balance transfer to my bank account for the full amount? They said, yes, there's a 3% charge. So 10 grand minus 3%, I'm left with 9,700. All of it, dude. I went from 10 grand to $57,000 or I guess $67,000 and because I had 10 grand in the account and completely maxed out credit cards at 60 grand. Like that's overnight, like boom, Monday to Tuesday, overnight. Went and acquired a property, started doing the flip, did that flip, went and jumped into two more with the profits from that one. So if you don't have money and you're looking at real estate, that's how I funded my deals without any money, hard money loan plus the credit cards. But I'm in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. It is one of the hottest, overpriced, most competitive. All the gurus live here and teach here and train here, and it's ridiculous. And they're all focused on single family houses. They're not focused on commercial, warehouses, storage units, land, RV parks, trailer parks, none of that. Some are multifamily. That's just a natural transition. But I was like, how can I differentiate myself? I was like, I'm nothing special when it comes to sales or marketing, which actually I found out I am when it comes to marketing. I figured out like, oh, I understand this marketing a little bit better than most people. But when it came to sales, underwriting deals, comping properties, all that stuff, and like, I don't want to go drive around and like do all this nonsense, go drive to 47 houses to get one deal under contract and then they cancel and there's mold, like flipping houses, like mold. Oh, by the way, there's the drainage sucks. We have to cut the entire foundation out and redo all the pipes and all this stuff. And I was like, bro, all these headaches like just stacked up. And I was like, I don't want to deal with it. Like, I simply don't want to deal with this. And I want a competitive edge over my competition. Who's doing land deals? Like, nobody's doing land deals. Like, I saw land deals come through. I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I bought a couple books and I was like, title is the same, escrow is the same. It's a purchase contract, it's a sales contract, financial structure is the same. Comping it is a little bit more difficult, but I'll figure it out. So I just dedicated my time and money to figuring out how to do everything I was doing in residential single family houses and put that skill towards land. And it just came out of a need to differentiate myself. And so immediately jumped in. And I think my first year I did about 160 acres between Arizona, Utah, Nevada, California, and Texas. Whether it's wholesale or buy, we'll do some fix up and then sell it. So yeah, that was my first year in the land business.
Yeah, I love it. And, that's an incredible story really about, you maxing out those credit cards and really, calling the banks and really just trying to find a way. How did was it more of an act of faith and courage, or how did you even, it's one thing to have the guts to do this, but how did you even know where to start with this to begin with?
Well, mind you, before I flipped houses, I was wholesaling at a firm for about a year, right? So I'd underwritten to get one wholesale deal. I'd underwrite 20 to 50 like properties, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking 100, 200 properties a month that I'm just underwriting, spreadsheets, calculators, underwriting, going to meetups. Like, oh, what are you looking at? What's your ARV? What's your repair cost? Like, how are you, right? Just networking, talking to people. And it's not interviewing one certain person about it, because then it's like, they're your mentor, right? I didn't have money to pay a freaking mentor. It's like, all right, I've got 30 people going to these networking events. I'm going to ask them all one question about the whole process. Or maybe I'll ask 3 of them the same question and see how similar their answers are. And then I ask them, hey, what title company do you use? Hey, I got this deal I'm closing. I'm paying like $2,000 in closing costs. Bro, that's way too much. Go to this title company. All right, cool. Switch title companies. Yeah. Right. Hey, I've got hard money. It's at 10%. Yeah, that's really good. Like 10%. What are the points? 2 points. Yeah, that's good. Like, that's pretty standard. All right, cool. We're check. Yeah. Right. Like, just talking to these dudes about my deals, I was just like confirming or just playing the networking game, but asking questions of like, what is actually going on, but not in the whole deal. Like, hey, can you look at this deal for me? It's like, no, I'm doing this deal, and this is my feedback on this one thing. And people want to be right. There's a law about people, like, they want to be right. And because like right now, if somebody came up to me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Aaron. And but it's funny because he spells it Erin. Immediately you're gonna be like, hey, Matt, like, my name's Aaron. Right? Like, that need to be right is human instinct. So use that in networking and just being like, hey, I've got this deal and this is what I acquired it for. This is what I think rehab is going to be. Here are the pictures. What do you think about this house? Like, yeah, it seems like your rehab is going to be good. You should make money on that. Or people start offering to like partner on things, right? It's like, hey, do you need a crew? Do you need a partner? Do you need something? It's like, all right, cool. I have a deal people are attracted to. That's confirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the power of, in not only getting the right circles, but also just getting in there and trying and asking those questions. So I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And my first 2 deals I did with a partner, right? I was like, hey, you've been flipping a house for 15 years. come in. I found the deal. I funded the deal. I am paying the people, like everything. You bring your subcontractors, you bring your expertise. We'll split this deal 50-50.
Yeah.
Right. He has no skin in the game besides I take his contractor's time.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. I mean, that's really, I think I think it's easy to be online and see, hey, buying land with no money down, or, getting into real estate. It's almost like people think it's too good to be true. And, oh, I need to have, I need to be a trust fund baby and have these inside connections. But, it sounds like where there's a will, there's a way, right?
absolutely. And it's like, I'm super conservative. Like when I underwrite deals, I underwrite a 20 to 30% return on investment from my investor. Right. It's like if I bring an investor in on my land deals, they're making a 20% return.
Yeah.
Like, but I also understand land is the riskiest real estate asset, right? It's like you can't rent it out. You can't, when the market shifts, which it's doing right now, the first thing to wash out is going to be a land deal, right? The riskiest asset is raw land. So, hey, you get upsized returns. You might get paid out in a month. You might get paid out in 2 years. I don't know. My goal is to sell this thing in 90 days because that's how I make money. So I hope you trust me on this thing. And so far, I have 3 deals that the market turned before we could sell them that we're dealing with. But it's like, I think we have like 15 grand into it. So like my investors are like, dude, we're good. Like we made this on 1 deal. So let's just ride this thing out. We'll figure it out. It'll end up working itself out. But I built that relationship with them.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it's funny. I mean, if you're dealing with, a home that's been there for 50 years, right? Or something that's newly built, there's obviously going to be some sort of appraised value to it, right? Whereas with land, it's just it's a big patch of dirt, right? So that can make people a bit uneasy if, hey, if the economy tanks, where am I going to be with this, right?
100%. Yep. Absolutely. I think right now, if somebody's not in real estate right now is the time to start educating yourself on real estate and get involved in deals to whatever degree you can, with the least amount of risk, just because there's a shift happening. And when that shift is more solidified, there's going to be a ton of opportunity on the back end of this thing. And it's not going to be a long cycle. Well, at least I don't think. I think the dollar is going to get devalued, but that just makes assets worth more, right? It's like if your dollar cuts in half, your assets worth twice as much as what it was worth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess, it kind of cuts both ways. And that brings up another point as well. Are you looking more for people who are doing construction on the land, or kind of what's the end goal for someone aside from an investor get a return, but maybe someone who's looking to buy the land? What do they generally do with it?
There are a lot of people that have, sorry, one second.
Yeah.
Awesome. There are a couple different areas of land, right? We use land generically. And I actually want to circle back to what I told you I was going to circle back to. Yeah. Arizona, the amount of land available in Arizona, you look at Arizona as a state, like you go on the satellite map, it's like all this land is available. You got like Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, the Mojave County area, and then like these small little states or towns, right? Just scattered throughout. The thing is, though, is 50% of that land that you see is owned either by the United States government or the Arizona government. Right? So that cuts down to 50%. And then another 20, there's 19% available. So we've got 31%. 31% is Indian reservation. So when you look at land, privately held land that you can buy that is held by individuals or corporations, there's 19% of that land is actually available, which is like a crazy small percentage.
Yeah.
So in that 19%, now you've got what is needed for society, right? You've got single family housing, multifamily housing. You've got new construction that is going to be one of these things. You've got trailer parks, both short-term RV and like long-term mobile home parks. storage, commercial, restaurant, retail. Some of it's going to be used for infrastructure, so highways, sewage systems, utilities, right? Like you've got all of these different things going on when it comes to land. So I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Hormozy, but you're going to get niche slapped if you don't pick a niche, right? Because riches are in the niches. So you got to pick a niche within land. So whether that's rural land where it's like, hey, I don't know what these prices are, neither does anybody else. So I'm just going to play in the gray area and I'm going to buy something for 10 grand because I think I can sell it for 50 grand.
Yeah.
Cool. Like that can be your game. Like I've done that. Or you buy, just do arbitrage where it's like, okay, you can buy a single family lot and you can rezone it from multifamily high density or retail or commercial and just make the arbitrage of the difference for doing that zoning, that rezone. You can do subdivisions, right? Buy a property by 28. I've done this, by 20 acres, subdivide it, and then sell 5-acre, 2 to 5 acre lots and just sell them individually for more per acre.
Sure. And, you use a word that you said subdividing. Could you kind of explain, are you going to the county or, upon buying some sort of raw land, what do you do immediately after that?
So to do a subdivision, you need a survey. It's best just to do everything in-house with the surveyor. They're super familiar with the paperwork and the requirements and kind of navigating the path. You don't need to be an expert in it in order to do it, as long as you're willing to pay a surveyor. Right. But you have to calculate that cost in your underwriting.
Yeah, no, I would imagine it. And it that almost sounds very hyper localized, right? Like it would depend, your cost would greatly depend on what area you're in, for that surveyor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and it's I follow Alex Hormozy as well. I really like a lot of his videos, his content, of course, his mindset stuff. But you used that was interesting. You talked about being niche slapped, right? Could you kind of explain maybe what that means in this context?
Yeah. So it's like if you're looking for everything, you're going to find nothing, in my opinion. Or you're going to find everything, but you're going to be like, shoot, like what do I do with all of this? Right. Yeah. It's like this too much. So are you looking for 20 plus acres you can subdivide? Yes or no? Cool. Are you looking for infill lots in a residential neighborhood that somebody can build a house on and you're just looking to arbitrage the price, right? You find a distressed seller, older seller, bad health, whatever the case is, and they sell it to you for a low dollar amount and then you buy it for more. Right? It could be a bank REO, it could be a bankruptcy, divorce, whatever the case is, but you just have to buy it and have spread on it. Are you looking to do a development or partner with a developer, right? Are you looking to buy a property, rezone it and sell it to a multifamily developer, right? All of these have very distinct. Are you looking to buy a or a trailer park, like RV park that's maybe abandoned or run down and you can bring it back up to market and make it pretty and beautiful and get it rented out and make it a cash flowing asset, right? All of these have a very clear like steps, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you want to focus on farmland where it's like, hey, you just buy and sell farms, or maybe you buy farms and convert them into subdivisions, right? There's a super clear process for each one of these, but they're also very complicated, right? And once you start adding, like if you get in your pipeline a farm that you're going to do a subdivision, an infill lot that you're going to build a single family house on, property that you're going to rezone for mixed use, commercial and multifamily and some single family. And it gets super convoluted. You can't build a team around it. You can't processize it. You can't, like, now you have a job, right? The goal in business, in my opinion, the goal in business is to have a clear system and a clear structure and focus on one thing to where it's like, it's an assembly line. Cool. We get a lead. Awesome. How did that lead come to us? Oh, it came into our email. Awesome. Who saw that lead? Susie saw that lead. Perfect. Susie's going to call them using this phone number. And this is a script she's going to say. Awesome. When she's on the phone, this is what information we need. Perfect. At the end of the phone call, part of the script is we're going to have a follow-up appointment in 48 hours. Perfect. This is the due diligence that needs done within those 48 hours. Okay, this is how we're going to price it. This is our underwriting tool. Okay, this is how we're going to anchor them and get our price. All right, now they've agreed verbally. Now we send them a contract via DocuSign. These are the terms and everything. Hey, they didn't sign it after 4 hours. We send them an email. Hey, what happened? After 5 hours, we call them. After 6 hours, we send them a text. Cool, we signed. Now we send it to title. Awesome. Now we have a deeper due diligence, right? And it's like now you can process it and start to build teams around each step of the process. Where if you're doing all of them and you have 17 niches that you build in 1 month, that's not enough time to build process. That's not enough time to learn the intricate details of what needs to happen, what to say, who to call, how to do all of these things. You have to build teams out and do one thing till you build a team out and then do the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at least, it's easy to kind of blame social media, but there's kind of that shiny object syndrome, right? Like, oh, hey, this looks cool. And, oh, wait, but I saw my friend did this and I saw she made money doing that. But, kind of being niche slapped, like you said, it's really important to realize that you want to narrow down what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to your end buyer too, right? It's like the manufactured home that I'm going to put on a piece of property. That area is really snowbird heavy. Sure, there's first time home buyers. Sure, there are new families. Sure, there are people that want horses. Sure, we can name off all the demographics, right? White, Asian, Black, horses, ranchers, city folk, people that are migrating from California, people that are migrating from Minnesota, people like, we could just go down the list, right?
Yeah.
But in putting this manufactured home in there, it's like, I want to tailor to the snowbirds. Why? They have money, first of all, right? They could probably pay cash, or they have a 401k or something that they're going to be able to pay for this. A single family or a first time home buyer is probably going to ask me for concessions and for seller credits and for FHA inspections, and then it's going to take longer, and the appraisal, and we just built it, so there's 2 appraisals, right? So it's like, I'm just going to stick to the snowbird. That's what I'm creating it for. Now I could sell it to somebody else. Maybe somebody else buys it, I don't know. But with that, it's like, okay, they're snowbirds, so what do we need? We need covered RV parking. We need easy access fence, right? Maybe I want an automated fence because they're older. They need somewhere to put their stuff, right? If they have a UTV or quad because they want to go rip around in the desert, they need somewhere where they can protect it. There's no garage on a single family house or on a double wide manufactured home. So I need to buy a little shed that they can park a UTV in that's going to be safe, or it's going to be hard to break into while they're gone. Right? It's like when you really figure out who your niche is and who your target audience is, even in real estate, now you get to know that. If I was like, hey, I want to sell this to somebody that wants animals, cool. I'm going to go get the fencing, and I'm going to build horse stables and a round pen, and I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to perimeter the entire property with really strong freaking fence because they're going to have horses, and we need to keep that in mind. So, but if I'm like, oh, I don't care if I sell it to a single family or first time home buyer or a rancher or a snowbird or a whoever, it's like, so do I put the round pen and the horse stables and the garage and the covered RV parking and the fence for the kids and right? It's like, you can't, now you lose money.
Yeah, maybe this is a dumb comparison. It almost kind of sounds like, you're going to show up at a party and you want to bring the right thing with you, right? If someone says, hey, we're having a cheesecake party, everybody come have cheesecake, and you roll up and you bring a key lime pie, it's kind of like,
what are you doing, bro?
What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's so true. I mean, it's definitely, at times good to kind of cast a wide net just to kind of figure out where you're going. But, at a certain point, like you said, it sounds like you really need to narrow it down and know exactly who you're talking to.
Yeah, and it's the same for renovating houses. It's the same for any marketing, anything that you create, you have to know who your audience is and then build it from that, right? You have a select amount of skills whatever they are. And the reason why most people fail, the reason I've failed before is because it's like, hey, I want to do this. This is freaking awesome. And I'm really good at it. And I take it to the marketplace and they're like, dude, this is freaking cool, but I don't want to pay for it, or I pay at least how much you're asking for it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, shit.
Shit's
Right. It's like,
yeah.
well, what do you want? Well, this is what I want. All right, cool. Let me go make that, because I can still do that. And I'm going to have just as much fun doing it. And I know I'm going to get paid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know you've kind of talked a bit about it as well, but could you kind of talk a bit about maybe some of the struggles you faced along the way, and how you overcame them, in the land business?
Yeah. I'm going to actually answer your question a different way. So I'm going to talk about Shred Club, because that's probably one of the biggest failures I've ever had, which was where we rented electric longboards. So when I was 19, 20 years old, I decided to drop out of college. And part of my reasoning was, if I'm going to go into business and spend $100,000 in a degree, I might as well go out into the world and lose $100,000 starting a business. Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm 19, 20 years old at this point. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about life, but that only makes sense to me. It's just like,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So we started the business. We put $100,000 into it between me and my partner. And after about a year, we were like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why isn't it working? And we made a plan to make it work. The problem with the plan that we made work is, in the best case scenario, the amount of money that it would make wasn't enough money to get us through the shitty situation we were in. Right? The why wasn't big enough. The payout wasn't big enough. So we're like, just cut our losses and move on.
Yeah.
So something that I learned in that is, like, remember the decisions you make and be very intentional with them. Because for probably a week, I was like, man, we ended our RV trip traveling around the country, me and Kat, to move back to Tempe, Arizona, where it was hot as hell, to open this store. So I let her down. I let myself down, right? My ego's hurt as a dude. I lost 50 grand for my business partner and best friend. Everybody that bought merch and all this stuff and that I sold on this idea, I let them down, because, like, I still get phone calls. I got a phone call last week. Hey, is Shred Club still open? We want to come by and do a ride with me and my kid. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, we closed it. Right? Like, I let all these people just, like, stacked failures on top of failures on top of failures. But one day I woke up and I was like, how did this happen? And it happened because I made a decision at 19, 20 years old to go into business, and something's going to not work, and I'm going to learn that lesson. And this is the lesson I learned. Right? Now you hear me talking about reverse engineer these things. Just because you love something doesn't mean the marketplace is going to. You need to figure out how many sales. I just had lunch with a friend today. She's like, hey, I'm getting fired from my job and I want to start a business and all this stuff. It's like, cool. What's your business? Oh, I want to build websites. Okay. You want to build websites. How much do you charge for a website? She's like, $600. I was like, okay, cool. That's really cheap. You should be able to get some sales. She's like, yeah, I already sold one. I was like, cool. What'd they pay you? $600 plus $200 for graphic design. I was like, perfect. You're at $800 on one client. She's like, I was like, how much money do you need to make? Well, in order to not go back to school, I need to make $2,500. I was like, all right, let's call it $3,000. Cool. So 800 or $3,000 divided by 800, you get like three or four deals. Can you sell 4 people on making them a website? She's like, yeah. I was like, perfect. There you go. Go sell 4 people on making them a website. Right? This is the lesson. It seems so simple, and we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, that's obvious, but missing that certain step is what made Shred Club fail, right? It's like, okay, I'm renting a board out for $25. A board costs $1,200. Divide 1,200 by 25. That's what I need to make my money back, times 20, plus payroll, rent, and insurance and marketing. Like, dude, can I actually do 10,000 rentals in a month? No, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't going to work then.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the lesson I learned. So the land business right now, being aware from the beginning that it's one of the riskiest assets is why right now I'm talking about a lot about marketing and business structures, because actually on the land side, I'm kind of stepping back for a little bit because I think because with rising interest rates and supply chain issues and everything like that, it's very scary to go into a speculative land deal or speculative new build. Right now, I don't think it's a bad idea. Just the position I'm in, I'm really focused on cash flow, right? I want to create processes and systems that generate income. So, and that's my recommendation for anybody that wants to get into. I have a really close friend right now. He's like, every day he's like sending me deals, like he's hustling, and I respect it. But I'm like, dude, I'm not doing any of this right now. I was like, I need to get to this amount of dollars in cash flow before I jump back into real estate. Right. And I would suggest that for anybody, because real estate is great at wealth building. But when you hear that somebody's a millionaire in real estate, that means they have $1 million in equity in a real estate property. That does not mean they're making $1 million. Someday they might cash out in 10, 15, 20 years. It's a great retirement account, quote unquote, but it's not a great cash flow play. And my focus right now is cash flow, because I think cash flow, cash, and attention are going to be the three most valuable resources during this next market cycle. I think real estate will appreciate if you're in a position where appreciation matters to you. But appreciation is not going to buy me lunch tomorrow. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not, it's funny. Have you ever seen the movie Bronx Tale?
No, what is that?
No, it's an Italian kind of Italian mafia kind of movie, and it's in New York, and this kid kind of grows up in the neighborhood, and he was kind of hanging out with a few of the mafia guys, and there was one scene there where they're playing poker, they're playing cards, and one of the little kids, I guess he's being influenced by one of the older guys, and he says, yeah, the other day my kid tried to throw out his baseball cards because some other guy told him Mickey Mantle won't pay my rent. Right. So it kind of, I don't know. In a funny way, it kind of reminded me of that, I guess.
No, that's true. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, you'll get a payout someday, but like, in my opinion, a lot of people watch podcasts like this or audio books or whatever because they have a job. And right, like realistically, the demographic that's listening to this is somebody that has a job and they want to get out of their job, and they see stuff on Facebook or internet or whatever that real estate makes more millionaires than any other industry. And so they get wrapped up in the real estate game to make $200 a month on a $400,000 house. Like, that's not going to retire you. You need 30 of those, right? It's like you need 30 times 40, 400,000. Like, you need $12 million in order to get an income off of real estate that's going to actually allow you to leave your job, right? Focus on the skills that I would focus on if I was in somebody's position like that I'm actually focusing on now, is figure out how to market and sell something that's not directly associated with your time, whatever that means, right? Like, if you can crack that code, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what do you mean directly not associated with your time? I'm assuming like if you were waiting tables, right? Your time is directly associated to, hey, the amount of time I put in at the restaurant, they pay me for that. So what does that mean?
Okay, so let's just take the waiter example. I'm just totally spitballing here. So take this with a grain of salt, and whatever you get out of it, good. Okay, so you wait tables. First, become the best table waiter you can get. Whatever you're at, figure out. And the way I would calculate that is tips, right? Tips, at least in America, tips is customary. I would figure out every psychological hack you can figure out in order to get more tips. I don't care if you're getting $1 tips right now, figure out how to make it $2. If you're getting $10 tips, figure out how to make it an $11 tip, right? A $1 tip from $10 to $11 is a 10% increase in your pay. Times that by what? 200 tables in a night, or I don't know how many tables, but like 100 tables in a night. Like, you just made an extra $100. Times that by the 250 days you're going to work, you just made an extra $25,000 or whatever that, I think that's right. 25 grand, figuring out how to make $1 extra off of a tip.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Now figure out how to make, we live in a digital age. Now figure out some marketing, figure out something, some sort of digital asset, figure out a way that you can help other people do the same thing you just did. Right? Even if it's just the people in your area, in your restaurant, start there and brag about it. Like, be a little bit cocky about it. Be like, oh dude, I'm increasing my tips. Like, I just got an extra $10 in tips from 17 different tables.
Yeah.
Dude, when your colleague tells you, it's like, dude, you made $170 extra tonight. Like, what? And then you do it again the next night. And then you do it again the next night. And then you do it again. They're going to get pissed off at you because there's something in them that wants what you have. Right. It's like, cool. You're friends. So help them for free, get them results, prove that you can replicate this thing. Awesome. Now create a video or a digital asset, a flow chart, a checklist, whatever the heck it is that you create, and then figure out how to sell it to everybody that is a waiter at Denny's, right? Sell to waiters at Denny's, or sell to waiters at and waitresses at IHOP, whatever the case is. Like, that is a super simple business model. You take skills that you're already using in your job, you perfect them, you help people around you, and then you help people on the internet. Like, that's as a waiter or waitress, that's how I would look at this angle. And we're doing the same thing in our bookkeeping business. You hear, you're familiar with Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you read $100 million offers. He talks about doing it in photography business. He talks about doing it in, what else? Photography. I think he said, apparel companies. Like, I don't know. He did it in his gym launch businesses, right? Like, all his gyms, he took working out and personal training, created digital assets, and then sold them for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times, or tens of thousands of times. Right? Like, cracking that code. And it sounds stupid. You say, Matt, you're telling me this is the exact process. Like, yeah. Oh, this thing just shut off. Keep going. Perfect. Cameras stop recording after 30 minutes.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, it sucks. But it's literally simple. And the only reason other people aren't doing it is just because other people aren't doing it. Right? Aaron, you know that if you want to get bigger muscles, you go to the gym and you do 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 30 reps every freaking day. You drink a gallon of water a day. You take some sodium before your workout, and you drink your body weight in grams of protein. Right? Like, you know that.
Yeah.
The only reason you don't do that is because either one, you don't want it, or you're being lazy. Like, that's it. So, like, none of this stuff is complicated. It's very difficult to execute consistently over time because it's boring. Right. And I want to wrap that to the beginning of our conversation. Like, holding ourselves to a higher standard is increasing our consistency. Like, that's it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that wrap up there, kind of having that, that higher standard, that consistency, whether it's, through fitness or business or whatever it is, Matt. And there's definitely a lot to think about. I know you've really inspired me quite a bit. And I'm curious as well, maybe, what are some last parting words you could leave us with, maybe a bit of advice, or just something you'd like, that it's on your mind.
Parting words is, the process is boring as hell. Go on Instagram and, you'll see Jocko Willink and David Goggins and, all these people, Andy Frisella, and they're yelling and they're shouting and they're intense, but like, it's not intense. Like, actually executing this stuff is not intense. Like, it is boring. Waking up at 4 a.m. to drive to the gym, drink a pre-workout, drink 16 ounces of water, take 500 milligrams of salt, right? Wash it down with some water, do a 10-minute warm up on the treadmill, go lift weights for an hour and a half by myself, come home at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, eat 2 eggs with a cup and a half of egg whites and 2 red potatoes, right? It's like, it's boring, dude. Like, learning how to make an extra $1 as a waiter, like, it's boring. It's not exciting. There's no sunshine, there's no rainbows, there's no fireworks, there's no recognition, there's no nothing, like there's nothing more other than you doing it. So just keep that in mind. Like for anybody that is like, that got motivated or inspired and is like on cloud nine right there, I just want to ground you. Like, it's not hard because it's hard. It's hard because it's boring. Right? Like that's why I think that having friends and doing things with people is really important, because like that's what makes life interesting, right? Some of the drama in your friendships is what makes life interesting. Some of the he said, she said, like I hate it, but it's like that's what keeps life interesting, right? It's like, oh, your aunt did this. It's like, oh, that's stupid. But it's like, oh, that's funny. It's kind of funny. Like, I'm glad I have an aunt that loves me, and like she's dumb.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
that's what keeps life interesting. So keep people around you that are fun and loving. But when you set high goals, just know reaching them is going to be boring. Once you reach it, it's like, cool, you get to make an Instagram post. And when people see you in a nice car, nicer car, or sexier body, like, you know, when you're going down the elevator and a chick's like, damn, like she might not say it, but that double take, like, it's like those little moments, like appreciate those little moments, because those are people recognizing the results of the boring work, right? Like that's all I would say. Everything before that, plus the process, is incredibly boring.
Yeah, no, and that's some great advice there, because everyone kind of likes the glitz and the glamour. Of course, you want to put out your best on social media, but at the same time, there's a lot behind the scenes, a lot of that mundane, boring stuff you don't want to do, but incrementally that's going to get you those looks in the elevator, right?
Yeah. Looks in the elevator, a nicer dinner, a better car, like nicer house, better education for your kids, retiring your parents, right? Like absolutely. It's the boring work that gets us there.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go do some boring stuff. Matt,
Good.
I know you've been doing some great things in the past. Right now, what's next for Matt Beans in the future? What are you looking for?
I'm looking right now. Like I said, I'm going all in on marketing right now, in my own businesses. Right now we do bookkeeping and accounting for real estate investors. So just making that a couple fold, one more affordable, more digestible, and more taking less of the mystery out of it for real estate investors. Just as a whole, that's kind of our mission right now in our bookkeeping and accounting business. But also on the marketing side, like I want to work with companies, right? I want to work with, if there's a small business owner listening to this or sees a clip or whatever, like reach out to me at the Matt Beans on Instagram. Just like shoot me, like, what is your business? What are you struggling with? Where are you at in sales? And like, do you want to make it more? Because I want to go all in on this business marketing. I want to partner with you. I don't know if there's even going to be a upfront fee outside of paying for marketing. Like I might make a deal on you that's performance based, where it's like, hey, I just want X% of increased sales, right? I want this to be performance based. I want to put my money where my mouth is. I'm not going to be like, hey, I need X amount of dollars. Like, hey, let's get you results, and obviously I need compensation for that because I brought you value in your business, your employees, your family, all that. So, feed me too. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I think this, like I said, this next shift that we're starting to be in over the last 2 months, that's going to continue over the next 6 to 12 months. I think marketing is going to be really important. And I think that small business owners, one, either suck at it, two, they don't have the time to learn it, or three, they don't have the time to implement it. So I want to partner with people that have small businesses that want to increase their sales and increase their lead flow and marketing attention, and maybe even your profits, because digitizing some aspects of the business will absolutely help accelerate profit margins. That's what I'm looking for. I know we talked about all land and all this stuff, but like that's my vision moving forward.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Well, the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you want a guy like Matt in your corner to help out. And obviously you're a wealth of knowledge. Your background is pretty neat, really jumping in to an endeavor at the age of 19 years old, learning a lot of those a lot of those lessons. And, I can see that a lot of that has really carried on to your success now. So, Matt, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And thank you again so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I know there's a billion people in the world, and to choose me for a Thursday evening when it's almost 9, almost 10 p.m. where you're at. And thank you for your time and the work and the effort and the man that you are and the example you are.
Solid. Thanks so much, Matt. We'll talk to you later.
Cool. Cheers, Aaron.